One team that's on the rise is the Bombers. What a win it was over in Adelaide last night. The Essendon Footy Club, they just put pressure on, and I'll talk about the pressure and what teams are doing to Port Adelaide in and around that game later on. But Dyson Heppell kicks a sealer. Bomber Thompson absolutely pumped. For 3 quarters, they just stifled the run of Port Adelaide, and they outnumbered them at the contest and didn't allow what Port Adelaide like, and that was a great victory and keeps them in the hunt. They've got Collingwood actually next Sunday, which might be a mini-final. It is at the MCG.
No doubt about it, and Heppell was magnificent. This 96 tackles, this team continues to improve. They've had a better month.
Yeah, they have, but I'm still a bit shocked in regards to why they aren't in a better position, because they're better than what they've shown. But there was a big contentious decision, Hutch, at the end of the game, how this wasn't dropping the ball. Luckily, they kick a goal here that gets them within 2 points, but luckily the Bombers were able to hold on, because I think it's an incident, Damo, we would have been talking about for a long time.
We always go back to what would happen if that changed the result of the game in a grand final. Would we cop that as an industry? We wouldn't. And we therefore shouldn't cop what happened last night, because again, it goes against what we were told at the start of the year, that how that was going to be adjudicated.
We've got a current player on this. Are you confused what's dropping the ball and what's not?
I'm not confused. I believe that should have been dropping the ball. I saw Hayden Kennedy on, I think it was afl.com.au, say that the umpires use a trigger of about 4 steps for a player to deem that as prior opportunity. Now, I think there was about 4 steps there which should have been deemed as prior.
The Bombers bought the heat, didn't they? They continue to play like that, they'll worry Collingwood next week.
Yeah, they will. They had to bring the heat, as you mentioned, 96 tackles. Collingwood's tackling pressure was up there, the best in the competition in the beginning of the season, but it's almost the tide has turned, and everyone in the comp wants to be the best tackler in the league now. Every club puts a lot of time into it because they know how important it is to have a strong defence.
They had a really good game plan too. I reckon Bomber Thompson had them worked out, had them set up and zoning really well. Port weren't able to get the player out the back and create that run, which they've been able to do most of the year, and I thought it was really well coached, and more importantly the players just went to perfection the way that he wanted to go about it.
Port Adelaide now has lost 3 of their past 4. Obviously last night to Essendon. They lost to Adelaide in round 15, beat the Bulldogs in round 14 but lost to Sydney in round 13. So Sydney, Adelaide, Essendon, losses coming in their past 4. Do we rule them out as being the premiership hope that we thought they were only 4 weeks ago?
Well, I think they have fallen behind Fremantle and the Sydney Swans, and we are reactionary at times in this game, but they would be concerned because it's been a poor month by them, and they go to Etihad Stadium next week to play the Tigers. So that will be a game they should win and win well, but if it's a scrap there, they've got serious concerns there at Port Adelaide.
A couple of players have dropped off also, and we love the way Chad Wingard goes about it and his marks and everything. But have a look here. When they've had a win, he's averaged 17 and 4 marks and kicked 3 goals.
Only 3 possessions.
Oh, I know. I haven't seen this, boy. But the marks, only 1. But the goals, that's what we're after about old Chad Wingard, and just struggling there when they're losing.
The Bombers last night with a magnificent effort, a 2-point win over the Port Adelaide Football Club. They bought the heat, they delivered, they're still in the finals hunt. Carlisle's finding some nicks. Harakas has turned things around, boys.
He has.
Oh, it was a great game there for the Bombers. They just took the initiative away from Port Adelaide, so it was a low-scoring affair, wet conditions, 8-14, 62. Harakas, his last 5 weeks has been huge.
Stanton played down back.
Yeah, and also Jason Winderlich did. So it was interesting, Bill, that they left Dustin Fletcher at home because of matchups, and they played a smaller defence, a more running defence because of Schultz and Westhoff being the only tools. But aside from that, they just couldn't score. Jay Schultz was their only avenue. We touched on Chad Wingard not having a great time of it, so he was disappointing.
Myers was good.
They tagged Heppell with Kane Corns. He did a really good job there. Kane Corns on Dyson Heppell, but it was a really courageous victory, Croft. Probably the best Bombers victory of the year.
Yeah, and Dempsey played a bit of a different role as well, so I liked it. I liked that they were prepared to change things up a bit and trial a few things, and maybe that's the way they need to play from now on. Just go with that smaller back line and just really create a lot of run and link up along the way.
What's happened to Port? They seem to slow down a bit. They haven't got the run that they had early in the season.
Yeah, I look forward to showing that on the plasma,
Sorry,
Bill. I look forward to showing that on the plasma
Sorry, Lordo, I should have read the rundown.
No, but I think it's something that we'll talk about shortly. With Adelaide just outnumbered them at the contest. They're being outworked, and the more you win, Drew, the more the opposition watches you, and that's something that maybe is happening with Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I think so. Being analysed very closely now, and you'd almost expect them to have hit a few hurdles this time of year, given how good they were early on.
That's right. It does happen. You can't be up the whole time. And
tackles.
And the tackles, 96. Yeah.
to 62.
You look at those 3 losses the Bombers have had in close games against big teams, and their whole season could look a lot different right now.
You're spot on, Hutch, and I think that they've got Collingwood, as we touched on Sunday, so that's a mini final for them. But just want to, Hutch, talk about Port Adelaide and where I think teams are challenging them. So I just want to show the first edit of what Port Adelaide have made themselves famous for. Pollock off the back, just at the back of the stoppage, they just burst into speed. Look, Ebert, Boak, and also Matty White all had great years. But here's what the Bombers did to them. They just suddenly caused panic. I thought he'd handball there or handball back. Just started blazing away, booing the footy. Dewey Knight, the Bombers, just pressed up on Port Adelaide, not giving them that time and space to run. Again, created another turnover. So 96 tackles. Adelaide did it the week before. Now, they know Pittard. He wants to run, so he's been studied. They just press up on him. No, he'll want to try and dance around, tackle. That was the sealer. So I could have shown maybe Hutch another 5 or 6 through those 96 tackles. That's what's happening. They're not getting that run link up in the losses. But the votes from the weekend, Hutch... Zaharakis, as I said, he's had a great 5 weeks.
So has
averaging
Robbie Gray.
over 30 disposals. Robbie Gray's probably the best half forward in the game. Winderlick off half back, I thought was a great move from Bomber Thompson, and Hamish Hartlett, he's a star of the game.
Will they make the 8, Essendon?
Well, they're one of... I think it's a 50-50. I couldn't predict that at the moment, but I'd have to say no.
Very much a Geelong flavour about the way they went about it when Geelong were extremely successful under Bomber Thompson.